Some all-terrain tires shine in one area and fall apart everywhere else. This script is about the ones that stay believable across the full job. That means wet roads, winter usefulness, noise, comfort, durability, value, image, and off-pavement credibility all have to matter at the same time instead of taking turns being ignored. That is the trap with all-terrain shopping in general. The category makes it easy to chase the most dramatic sidewall, the most aggressive tread pattern, or the brand with the loudest reputation, but those things do not automatically translate into the best ownership experience. Real-world balance is the hardest thing for an all-terrain tire to deliver because the category is built on trade-offs. The tire that rises to the top is not the most extreme in any single direction. It is the one that keeps making sense once comfort, weather, image, durability, and off-pavement use all start pulling against each other. Balance is the hardest thing for an all-terrain tire to pull off because every aggressive strength usually drags another weakness behind it. The best tire here is the one that avoids feeling lopsided once real life starts putting pressure on every category at once. Stay with me, because the tire at the top is the one that avoids the ugliest compromises once every category starts pulling against each other. At number 8, Nitto Recon Grappler AT lands here because style, decent manners, and all-terrain identity still matter when the goal is an even overall package. Nitto frames the Recon Grappler AT as a comfortable all-terrain with tougher visual presence than a mild road tire. That matters in a balance-first conversation because style and road manners both still count, even if neither can dominate the whole decision. It is a good fit for buyers who value a tougher look and reasonable daily behavior, even if they are not chasing the deepest winter or test-driven performance story in the class. That is the kind of difference drivers notice after the first 2,000 miles, when the daily reality matters more than the sales pitch. That gives it enough balance to belong here, even if it is not the strongest all-rounder in the field. That is what keeps it in the balance conversation, even without being the strongest specialist in the group. What keeps it from climbing higher is the 7 tires above it sound more complete, once comfort, weather, and broader versatility all get equal weight. If balance matters more than winning any single category, it still remains a believable pick. The next tire moves into a more work-ready, weather-minded version of balance. At number 7, Goodyear Wrangler DuraTrac RT lands here because utility, weather, credibility, and truck duty attitude are real parts of balanced ownership for many buyers. The Wrangler DuraTrac RT carries the severe snow symbol and the kind of work truck image that immediately fits a harder-use buyer. It is not a refinement-first tire, but that is not its mission. The reason it matters is that it sounds built for hauling, rough routes, bad weather, and trucks that actually get used instead of simply dressed up. It makes sense for drivers whose version of balance includes work use, rough surfaces, and mixed conditions rather than just quiet highways and grocery runs. That matters most once the tire has to live through commutes, weather swings, and all the unglamorous miles that expose a weak choice fast. That broader truck use relevance is why it belongs in the real-world conversation. For drivers trying to avoid one-dimensional tire choices, that kind of all-round usefulness still counts for a lot. The only thing holding it back is the 6 tires above it are easier to justify across a wider mix of buyers and use cases. That still leaves it as a very believable choice for the buyer it fits best. The next tire gets there through honesty, value, and practical day-to-day usefulness. At number 6, General Grabber 5TX lands here because its practical no-hype nature gives it the legitimate all-around case. General offers the Grabber TX with up to a 60,000-mile warranty, severe snow certification, and a 45-day trial. Its reputation is less about hype and more about honesty. Decent winter ability, usable road manners, and enough durability to make sense for trucks and SUVs that work during the week and wander off pavement on the weekend. It fits buyers who want weather capability, decent comfort, and fair pricing without feeling like they bought something cheap or overly specialized. That's where a tire stops being a nice idea on paper and starts proving whether it actually fits the life of the vehicle. That kind of honest competence is often what real-world balance actually looks like. That is what gives it a clear audience instead of making it just another all-terrain option. If that is where your priorities land, this tire makes a lot of sense. The reason it stops here is the 5 tires above it deliver stronger polish, broader capability, or more current momentum. It still works for drivers who would rather avoid glaring weaknesses than chase one headline strength. The next tire adds more polish while staying in the balanced lane.
At number 5, Yokohama Geolandar T4 lands here because it combines a smoother, quiet road personality with enough all-terrain credibility to stay relevant beyond pavement. Yokohama gives the Geolandar T4 up to a 65,000-mile warranty on Eurometric sizes and 55,000 miles on LT sizes, along with severe snow certification. The tire is positioned around a smooth, quiet ride with real off-road durability, which is exactly why it feels so relevant in lists centered on balance, appearance, and year-round daily use. It is a great fit for drivers who want a modern-feeling daily setup, but do not want to give away the weather and dirt road flexibility that make an all-terrain worthwhile. That detail matters because real ownership is about how the tire behaves after the novelty is gone and the ordinary miles take over. That polished balance is exactly why it lands in the top 5. That is why the appeal here feels specific rather than generic. That alone is enough to put it on the shortlist for the right buyer. It comes up just short. because the top 4 still sound stronger once the full picture of weather, toughness, and broad usefulness is considered. That does not erase the case for it, it just defines who it suits best. The next tire is the comfort and road manners specialist that makes balance feel very mature.
At number 4, Continental TerrainContact, a T, lands here because its road manners and wet road confidence make it one of the easiest tires in the class to live with. Continental and Tire Rack both frame the TerrainContact, a T, as an on-road all-terrain first. It carries a 60,000-mile warranty and a strong owner feedback story built around wet traction, comfort, and calm road behavior over millions of reported miles. That is why it shows up so often when the buyer cares more about livability than image alone. It works best for buyers whose idea of balance starts with livability and predictability, then adds enough category toughness to stay useful for weather and light trail work. That becomes important once the tire has to deal with normal roads, rough patches, changing weather, and the kind of use no brochure can smooth over. That kind of comfort-first balance matters because most people spend more time on pavement than they admit. That is what makes the balance argument feel earned. For drivers who hate glaring weaknesses, it comes across as a serious option. It settles into this spot because the top 3 bring stronger rugged identity or broader all-condition authority. If you care more about avoiding weaknesses than chasing extremes, that still matters. Those 3 all bring that added authority in different ways. At number 3, BFGoodrich All-Terrain TAKO3 lands here because it keeps the classic toughness story alive while also bringing major winter credibility. BFGoodrich gives the KO3 a 50,000-mile warranty and the evolved reputation of one of the segment's most trusted off-road names. Recent winter-focused testing treated it very seriously, especially for snow traction, which helps separate it from aggressive-looking rivals that sound better in marketing than in ugly weather. It still feels like a toughness-first tire, but it has more real-world flexibility than many people expect. It is the right tire for buyers who want real durability and cold weather seriousness, and who are willing to accept a more rugged feel in exchange for deeper confidence once conditions turn rough. That is exactly the sort of thing owners feel later, when the road gets rough, the weather shifts, and the tire has to justify itself without excuses. That stronger hard use and snow story gives the KO3 a very real balance argument. That is why it makes more sense than a lot of flashier options for the driver it is built to suit. If that trade-off sounds right to you, the fit is easy to picture. The case weakens only when the top 2 are easier to justify for the widest range of drivers and climates. That trade-off will not bother everyone, especially if the tire's main strengths match what you need most. One is the broad all-rounder, and the winner sounds even more complete than that. At number 2, Toyo Open Country. AT3 lands here because it rarely sounds weak in any major category. Toyo backs the Open Country AT3 with up to a 65,000-mile warranty depending on size, and the tire carries the severe snow symbol. Its appeal is broad competence, dependable wet road behavior, useful winter credibility, and quieter road manners than many old-school all-terrain designs. It keeps appearing near the top of mixed-use rankings because it rarely sounds out of place. It fits drivers who want one tire that can commute, handle weather, stay useful on road trips, and still make sense off pavement without feeling like a specialist choice. That matters because the wrong tire usually does not reveal itself on day 1. It shows up later through noise, wear, nervous behavior, or simple annoyance. That broad usefulness is what real-world balance is supposed to look like. That is the point where this tire starts to feel like a smart match rather than just a familiar name. That is usually all it takes for the right buyer to understand the draw. What keeps it from the top is that Falken brings the same breadth with even stronger recent momentum and livability signals. That is the small edge that decides it. At number 1, Falken Wildpeak AT4W lands here because it combines one of the strongest all-around packages in the category with excellent recent test momentum and very strong ownership signals. Falken backs the Wildpeak AT4W with up to a 65,000-mile warranty on non-LT sizes and 60,000 miles on LT sizes, plus severe snow certification and road hazard coverage. In a balance-first conversation, the point is not one standout trait. It is how often comfort, value, weather confidence, and capability all show up together. It is the best answer for buyers who want one tire to do almost everything well enough that no single compromise keeps bothering them month after month. That is the point where a smart tire choice separates itself from a flashy one. After the miles, the weather, and the rough roads all get involved. Wet grip, winter ability, comfort, value, and real all-terrain capability all line up in one place, and that is exactly what balance means. That is why it lands with drivers who know exactly what they want out of the truck. If those are the boxes you care about most, the logic is pretty straightforward. It runs into a ceiling here because there is nowhere higher to place it when the question is which tire sounds hardest to punish from a real-world angle. That is not enough to knock it off the shortlist if its strongest traits match your priorities. That makes it the clearest real-world balance winner of the group. So the order comes together like this: Nitto, Recon, Grappler AT, Goodyear, Wrangler, DuraTrac RT, General Grabber ATX, Yokohama Geolandar AT4, Continental TerrainContact AT, BFGoodrich KO3, Toyo Open Country AT3, and Falken Wildpeak AT4W on top. The best all-terrain tire for real life is rarely the most dramatic one. It is the one that still feels right after the weather, the road, the miles, and the occasional off-pavement use all get to cast a vote. That also explains why the right answer changes from driver to driver. Some owners care most about quiet highway miles, others put winter grip, tougher looks, towing confidence, or long-term value first. Falken lands strongest here because it sounds like the most complete answer once comfort, weather confidence, daily use, and genuine capability all start competing with one another. Balance wins when a tire avoids obvious weaknesses and keeps feeling believable across weather, pavement, and the occasional rough route.